Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we are talking about relationship tips, making the best of confusing situations. But before we jump into the topic, I do want to invite you to come say hi to me on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I'd love to chat with you in the DMs and really just get to know you, have a conversation, see if you have ideas or just suggestions for topics that I should talk about or anything I could get better at. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to have almost like a real conversation, it is real conversations, but you know what I mean. If you're on Clubhouse, I'm at Sabrina J. Perozzo. And if you'd like to send me an email, you can send one to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com with any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me. Also, just know I have memorized that. I don't read that every single time. So it's funny because one time I did forget it and I don't have it written down anywhere. And I'm like, what do I always say that people can send to me? So anyway, I hope that you come and say hi to me some way. But anyway, let's jump into the topic. So today we are talking about relationship tips, making the best of confusing situations. And I thought it would be fun to throw in some relationship advice because I love talking about relationships. You know, relationships are such a good thing to talk about because these involve a ton of communication. I love talking about communication, you guys. I was even speaking to someone the other day about how I would love to have like an advice column or like an advice show where I talked about relationships and not just romantic ones, but friends and family and people at work and, and acquaintances and all kinds of different levels of friendships and relationships because it's so important. Sometimes we can take those for granted in our life, right? And, but we do tend to value the relationships in our life more than most things. So doing what we can to take care of them is super important. So I'm sure that you can hear my excitement in talking about this, and I hope that you are similarly excited. So today I want to talk about 4 quick tips that will help with some confusion that can come along in relationships. And again, this doesn't have to be romantic. It can be family, friends, work peeps, whomever. And today I'm going to talk about 4, and I think in like another few episodes, I'm going to talk about another 4 that I have that I would love to discuss. But we're just going to jump right into them and kind of deep dive a little bit into each one and talk about how these can be helpful. So the first one is don't make assumptions, but instead ask questions. And, growing up, my dad always used to say, assumptions make an ass of you. I don't curse, but I will say ass because that is a donkey. But, assumptions make an ass out of you and me, right? So making assumptions is never the right choice. Assumptions are bad news because making stuff up because of random information you pull together does not make truth. It doesn't. And I don't care how sure you think you are or who told you what or what you may have seen or heard. It doesn't make truth until you actually get it from the source, okay? And there also is no way you can know everything about every situation, no matter how close you are to them. It doesn't matter. It's important to ask questions, be patient and kind when asking more details, and lean on trust if that exists in the relationship. Because sometimes trust isn't fully there. And you might be like, well, Sabrina, if trust isn't there, I'm going to make my assumptions. That's still not a good reason or excuse for you to just jump into assumptions, okay? If you are having trouble with trust, that is definitely a different situation to work on and get through. But you got to do your best to just believe what they're telling you until they prove you wrong, okay? And even if your assumption turns out to be true, used to be something that I would hang my hat on, right? I'd be like, well, like the last however many assumptions I have made, they have been true. So I should just follow through with those things that I think. And that is not the right way to go either. I'm telling you right now. And this might be calling some people out. All of these things today I might talk about might be calling some people out, but it's necessary. It's healthy. When people call me out, it hurts. It stings. It burns, really. It embarrasses me. But we need those things in our life. We need people that are just going to really get us to realize the ways in our life that we aren't necessarily doing our best or being our best, especially to other people in our life. So don't make assumptions, but ask questions instead. And if you're feeling a little heated about whatever assumption that you are about to come to this person with, I suggest taking a little bit of a break. Take a break before you just try to jump on them like a piranha. You want to be able to not come in hot. You want to be able to come in like mild, cool. Have your questions be like, hey, what about this? Or why did this happen? Or what's going down with this kind of thing, right? Give them the opportunity to tell you what is actually going on. And again, if you have trust issues and you do not trust what they're saying is true, then there is going to be more work that needs to be done on that relationship. Not or, and maybe yourself if you're having trust issues. Because even if it's just you having trust issues, that's still part of the relationship and that needs to be worked out as well, in addition to your own personal trust issues. So please don't make assumptions, but instead ask questions. And if the person that you're speaking with, that you're in this relationship with, doesn't want to answer your questions and just wants to be super secretive, then you have other problems that you need to deal with. Because if there are things, if you're close enough with them and there are things that you feel like you are entitled to know or have caused you to feel uneasy and you're sharing how you're feeling with them and you want to be able to ask questions so you're not making assumptions, even telling them that, hey, I don't want to make any assumptions. Can I just ask you a few questions to clarify what's going on? Do that. But if they're not willing to do that, then you really need to figure out what's going on. Okay, so the second one is don't jump to conclusions. Again, you need to take a step back and not assume you know what's going on based on the little amount of information that you know. Jumping to conclusions isn't going to help anything. You are going to come across real aggressive, and if you need more information on how to not be aggressive in communication but to be assertive, that happened a couple episodes ago back, so please listen to that one if you want more information on how to not be aggressive in your communication. Super important. But you're going to come across real aggressive in conclusions and not at all helpful or understanding. And when you want to know information, you got to come in with being helpful and understanding. You just have to, at least at first. And you need to take a moment to compose your thoughts. Again, do not come in hot. Take a moment, take a breather, compose your thoughts, then give the other person a chance to explain, to answer questions, whatever needs to be done for you to understand the situation before you respond. A lot of times we will say things and let things fly out of our mouths that we haven't actually fully thought about or considered if that could hurt their feelings, or consider if that's true or not, or consider if that's how we really feel. And that's how regret happens. Regret is born in those moments where we don't take the time to actually think it through. Now, I'm not saying that you can't experience regret even after thinking something through, because there are times when you're not in the mindset to be thinking about anything in regards to whatever situation this is with the other person, because all you're thinking is negative stuff or stuff that's hurtful. So keep that in mind as well. However, a good general rule is to just don't jump to conclusions. Give them a moment to explain. Hopefully they'll give you a chance to ask questions. Take a breath before you respond and really consider asking yourself, will I regret this in like 2 days after I say this? Or even any day, any time in the future? Am I going to regret saying this? And yeah, we all do things that we regret. Sure, learning lessons, opportunities to grow and change and learn. That's awesome. But if you can avoid a lot of those, you'll feel really good about yourself. So don't jump to conclusions. Okay, so the third one is don't criticize, but instead offer constructive criticism. Oh my goodness. I used to have a really big problem with criticizing people because I have this running joke that is also laced with so much truth that I'm right about everything. And, people will feed into this because they're like, wow, Sabrina, you're right about a lot of things. Yes. But that comes from not criticizing people. It just comes from being able to read the room and understand people. But in addition to that, I would criticize people a ton because I'm like, I know better than you. Let me tell you what's up. That's not the way you need to go about it. You don't need to go around being like, I know more than you. Let me tell you what to do. That's not the way. This just doesn't help anything at all. Criticizing does not. If you need to tell someone something that would benefit them, do it in a constructive way. Do it in a way that will help them understand your concern, right? You're concerned. You think this is not good for them. You think this needs to change. Hey, do it in a way that is comforting and calm and that you think they would actually understand you. Yelling and screaming at someone or going down someone's throat real aggressive is not going to help them know or express your concern. It's just it's gonna express your anger and your aggression, right? And before you try to impose your opinion on them, right? Right? Are we ready for this? I don't know if we are. But before you try to impose your opinion on them, let me tell you, you need to ask them. Ask if they would like to hear it as a suggestion, not the ultimate solution. And this is part of the problem that I have. I would say like, hey, you're doing this wrong. This is what you should be doing. As opposed to being like, hey, I have a concern that maybe you're doing this wrong. Can we chat about that for a minute? Okay, great. So I think that you might be doing this wrong, and in my experience, this is the best way to do it. This is how it'll benefit you, blah, 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 blah. And this is how it will hurt you and why you shouldn't do it that way. And hey, I have a suggestion on to like how to do this better. Would you be interested in hearing that or considering it? Okay, great. Let me tell you. So, going about it the right way, you can still get the information that is in your heart and mind that you want to get across. I get it. When you have a strong opinion or feeling about something and you just want to get it out, you just want to tell them. You're like, listen, I can help you. And you come across real aggressive though, because you're like, oh, I just need to get it out. I want to stop them before it gets worse. I really need to jump in here. You have this strong feeling and concern in yourself. Believe you me, I got you. However, you have to go about the right way. You can't just up and criticize someone. You gotta do it in a constructive criticism type of feedback way. It's the only way. It's the only way it's truly going to get across to them, right? It's the only way they're going to want to accept it. And it's the only way that will actually show that you are respecting their boundaries and who they are and not trying to just, micromanage whatever's going on in your life or act like you are the person that knows all and that you know better than them. And that makes them feel small and insignificant and not worthy of being able to do anything. Think about that. Think about how they would feel. Think about how you would feel if someone came at you the way that you're coming at them. Would you appreciate it? You might say that you will. I know it's not true. It's not. And before you go into a big thing about, Sabrina, what about tough love? Tough love can still come in a way where it is constructive criticism. It is given in a respectful manner. It is not coming in too hot and aggressive, and your point still gets across by instilling boundaries. Boundaries. Personal boundaries. I've been talking about it for forever. And I think for the past 2 months, I keep talking about how I'm going to bring that back. I am going to bring that conversation back. I don't know if I'm ready yet, but soon I will because it's super important. So don't criticize, but instead offer constructive criticism. All right, so the last one that I want to share with you for today's episode is keep communication open no matter what. No matter what. The best relationships are built on strong communication, even if you fight. Even if you have anger towards each other, even if there were yelling and screaming matches, still wow, why keep wanting to say that word first? The best relationships are built on communication. Even if you're in a fight, even if you're having differing opinions, even if you don't quite understand how to get your feelings across to them, be open with communication. Be open with it. It's a two-way street. You got to both keep it open. Allow yourself to still talk with the other person and keep communication available and open to get through hard and difficult to discuss situations, because we all know that we all encounter them in most relationships. Again, not just romantic, but friendships, family, coworkers, peeps that you hang out with at wherever you hang out with. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be mini fallouts. There's going to be problems, but keep the communication open. Be willing to speak with the other person or hear them out, vice versa. Right? Don't let yourself be all closed up just because you're hurt or offended, right? That's on you to feel that way, and you are entitled to feel whatever way that you choose. However, communication is key to a healthy relationship. You gotta let each other go back and forth and understand what the freaking problem is for you to actually work it out. You can't solve the problem if you don't talk about it and figure out what the heck's going on. You can't just sweep it on the rug and be like, it's cool, let's move on. Because that's going to come up again and again and again in some way. It's going to manifest in some way. Maybe not directly as it did this time or the first time, but in another time and in another way. It just will. I promise you. So it's just better to deal with things. And I think I saw a quote recently that said that dealing with small problems is a lot easier than dealing with big problems. But you know how you get to big problems generally is when you sweep so many small problems under the rug and it becomes a really big mountain of problems because you decided not to deal with it. And this is a little bit off topic, but it does relate to relationships because if you do that in a relationship, then you're going to have a really big freaking problem to deal with together. And it's going to be so much harder to communicate because you have all these pent up feelings and emotions and things that you might be revengeful or resentful of, holding grudges, all this crap that you didn't need. Because if you just kept the communication open the whole time, share with them how you feel and not how they made you feel, because again, we're all responsible for our own emotions, right? I feel really passionate about this. I know that you can tell. But got to keep that communication open. You have to. You got to try. Even if it feels angerful for a little bit. Keep talking. Keep remembering why you're in this relationship. Keep reminding yourself why it's important. Even if you have to take little breaks, just be open to send each other texts or calls, leave voicemails, write a letter, whatever you want to do. Pop a Post-it note up. It's cool. It all works as long as you keep it open. So that's all I'm going to say about these particular 4 relationship tips that really have a lot to do with making the best of confusing situations, because when you're making assumptions, you're kind of confused on what's going on. And when you jump to conclusions, again, you're confused as to what's going on. You need to know. And criticizing someone as opposed to giving them constructive criticism, you are kind of confused as to why they're doing it that way and how you want to tell them to do it the right way, but you need to go about that the right way. And then also keeping communication open relates to confusion, because there can be so much confusion when you don't keep the communication open. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. I love talking about this with you. I cannot wait till the next episode where we talk about another 4 relationship tips. And please DM me on Instagram, come talk to me on Clubhouse, send me an email. And do you have relationship tips you want to share with me that I can share with everyone? That'd be great, and your experience with them. Or if you have relationship topics you want me to talk about, or any topic, any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me, please do it. Instagram at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, Clubhouse at Sabrina J. Perozzo, email realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. I'm here, I'm there, I'm in all the places. Please. But before I let you go, thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Thank you for sharing, downloading, listening to the show. You're amazing. I appreciate you so much. This is my life's passion. Thank you for being here and being a part of it and contributing. Because by listening, sharing, downloading, you are contributing. Thank you so much. So until next time, have a good one, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.